We've had no end of comments from you on this story, and we'll try and squeeze them in when we get a moment later on. Do our children need to work harder? That's the question. For the first time, the UK doesn't make the top 20 in maths, reading or science in international league tables. Countries such as China, Korea and Japan are way ahead of us. The government says this is evidence that Britain's education system needs to be further reformed, and it suggests more after-school tuition. Anna Crown is director of Excelr8, a learning-based organisation in Hardwick and Milton, who do tuition for local youngsters. Anna, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you very much. So, are you catering for local children who come, their parents presumably want them to cram more?
I wouldn't say that it's cramming entirely. There are all kinds of reasons why children come to us. It's certainly not to do with cramming. Sometimes a child will just have not entirely understood something the first time round. I would take something like division as an example. It just seems quite a difficult concept for many children to get their heads around if they haven't been able to connect the idea of multiplication with division the first time, and that's something that we work on. We're able to work in a much smaller ratio, children to teacher. So we get a chance to sit down with them and explain a little bit more and use hands-on activities that help them to understand it a little bit better, which would be perhaps quite difficult for a teacher in a class of 30 primary school children to manage.
And what age are the children, roughly, that come to you?
Oh, well, we take children from 5 years old right through to 16, and then we do A-level tuition as well on a one-to-one basis. And a few adults. People come to us for all kinds of reasons.
Is it specific subjects? You mentioned the glories of long division there. Oh, how I remember teaching that. But is it basically maths and reading?
Yeah, well, it's maths and English. English in all kinds of areas. Reading is obviously essential for children to make good progress. But it can be reading for comprehension, and then we get at the higher levels reading for interpretation. So all kinds of areas around that. And sometimes we have to specialise in things like spelling. Well, I say we have to. Obviously, if it's going to help children to write better, their spelling will need to be tackled as well. So there are all areas of those subjects we cover in our tuition centres, yeah.
And are the children coming to you just in some cases just to, if you like, improve their ability in these subjects, or are they also sent to you because they do need to take entrance exams to go on to further education?
Absolutely. We have, as I said, parents come to us for all kinds of reasons. There are those who need to do a little bit of catching up for whatever reason they missed things. And then there are others who are taking entrance exams for the local independent schools. We even have children coming from independent schools to get an extra boost. And then there are occasionally children students who are perhaps looking to get a particular grade at GCSE. They must get a grade C or whatever it's going to be in the new system. And they are determined. They may have realised a year or so before the actual exams that this is what I need to get before I go on to the next level of my education. So they are motivated to do the very best they can. But also, we take quite a few children whose parents see the potential when they're very young, and then think that perhaps a little extra boost would do them good. It will take them to higher levels. And that's a pretty good way of thinking of it in terms of investing for the future, really, because those extra hours are going to really work well for them.
Do the children like coming after school? I used to teach in one school in a village, and then I had parents in the village where I live would say, would you give a little bit extra tuition to our children? Some of them didn't mind. I didn't, but particularly I didn't do too many, but you know, some of them didn't mind coming, and others you could tell didn't want to. How motivated are the children?
Right. Well, at Excelr8 Learning, we tend to think of it as a learning club. So it's just like going off to do gymnastics or football or whatever, maybe not quite football, but other clubs where they're learning different things. And very often we will be teaching them different things. It certainly will be trying to tie in with what they're doing at school, and we have conversations with parents about what the children are doing and how they're doing and things. But we try to make it as much fun as we can so that they're playing learning games, and half the time, especially with the little ones, they don't realise that they're actually learning as they go along. So the fun element is very important, and we have various motivational devices with certificates and prizes and whatnot that help to keep them engaged as well. So we are very conscious of that. It doesn't feel like school when you walk into one of our classrooms. Very different.
It's been really good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Very much for your time.
Cheers. Bye. That's Anna Crown, Director of Excelr8, a learning-based organisation in Hardwick and Milton, who provide tuition for local youngsters, as you heard there. Your thoughts would be most welcome. You've been getting in touch in your numbers on this subject. Thanks to all of you who have got in touch this morning.